Good evening, everyone. This is Scott, and welcome to the trade report video for the week of November 27th, 2016. Hope everyone had a good holiday weekend. I traveled down to Central Florida on Wednesday, so I was traveling most of that day, and then Thursday or Friday we had a shortened day in the market, and I was doing some Black Friday shopping, so didn't do too much trading. Basically, still sitting on my three swing positions, which are ATRS, um, IPCI, and ARRY. So still sitting on those positions. They're continuing to act well, so I'm sitting on those. So let's take a real quick look here at the SPY, the SPY. The market is continuing to make new highs here on the SPY, and some people are saying it's overbought, but at this point it's still very bullish as far as I can tell. There's still lots of breakouts, patterns, lots of sectors in the market are very strong at this point. And could it get a pullback? Yeah, I think it's possible, but the major trend, as far as I can tell, still remains up. So there's the SPY, SPY, small cap, Russell 2000 ETF, IWM. This one, once again, is still going higher here. It's been up, let's see, I don't even know how many days in a row green here since Trump got elected. But so yeah, maybe it's getting extended, maybe it's due for a reaction, but the market still looks bullish to me. So we'll go through. I got a list of names here. Some of these names we were on the watch list last week. We'll talk about what happened with those, how they played out, and then some of the other names are. So the rest of the names are on the watch list for this week, for tomorrow. So our top trade setups for tomorrow. So let's just dive right in here and just real quick. So ZIOP, this was one on our watch list last week, and it was a great breakout setup through this $6 spot right here. Had a really nice run all up here to like 780 area. So this was a great breakout if you caught it, and if you didn't catch it, I mentioned this thing pulled all the way back here, and I tweeted about it, how this $6 level, and you can see here where this 6 resistance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's been tested multiple times, and so that key resistance should then act as a support level on a pullback there, and so that provided a great entry point. I did enter this at around 604, but then I took the profits at around 613 or 14, so I made a very small percentage on it, more of like a day trade thing. But you can see how this thing is all the way up to 733 and could potentially retest the 780 level this week, or even break out beyond that. So this is a great example how you could have done really well here on this ZIOP here. So this will still be on the radar to biotech. And I think this thing could potentially go back up here to 780, and then it could act as resistance, or it could break it. So that's the next level of resistance there on the ZIOP. So let's see, next up on the list, IPCI. So this is another swing position that I'm still in. And this one had a spot. It hasn't broken through and held yet, but this 320 spot. It was resistance right in here, and then here it tested it. So, I mean, obviously the wicks went a little bit higher, so this is about an average price, but, I'm using this lower support trend line here. A close below that is my stop, and so far it's held this trend line, even though this day, intraday, it fluctuated down below, and then it reacted all the way up there. So, I'm still in it. I could have taken profits on Friday when it ramped up here to the high, but that's all right. I still think this thing is going to break 320 and hold and head higher, so I'm still remaining long in this IPCI here. INSM is another biotech stock, and so this one has a nice pattern here. So it's right here at this breakout level, right around this 1525 spot. So ran up here, maybe the real breakout. Yeah, so somewhere in here, 15 to 1525. Tested it here, fell all the way down here. Tested it again, got rejected, and now it's back there again. So I think this is a nice looking stock here. And so if you were going to trade that, the average depth, I would look at maybe this 1350 spot, even though it did go all the way down here. So at 1350 to 1520. So take that point difference there, add that to there, and that would be your first target on this breakout for this one, INSM. So ATRS here is still acting very well, and once again, I've been on this one, been sitting on this one for quite a while now. Basically, since it broke 180, I think I got in right in here, and it's this day or on the close of this day or somewhere in there. But you know, it broke this 180, and so I don't know how many days this is, but I've still been sitting on this because it's held above this 180 spot, and now it's actually broke out above this recent high. It's 195 to 197 area. It broke out through that on Friday. It's a pretty good volume, and you know, this is also a biotech stock or a healthcare type stock, and that sector is still looks good to me. And so this one, I'm continuing to hold this one too. I think potentially it could get to 220, and we'll see over the next several days. We'll see how it acts. But right now, it's still acting right. The market's right, so there's no real reason to do anything if the stock is acting right and the market's right. You just got to be able to be patient with your positions, and most people can't do that. But that's a very important skill. Is if you're sitting on a winner and it's paying you to, you know, be right and sit tight and try to capture as much of these gains on these swings as you can, versus scalping and day trading type stuff where you catch a small percentage of the move. So next up is CUTR. It's been on our watch list for a while. It still looks good, still acting well. And so just a real quick recap, here was the original pattern that we set up here, right in this area here for a breakout. And then once it broke out, it's got this clear line. You can see this here. This is your risk level. So, you know, as long as it doesn't close below this, when you're buying the breakout, you know, you continue to hold this swing as long as it respects this line here and holds above it. And this one, you know, continues to act well. CUTR, and that one looks higher. Square, this is one we added to the watch list this week here. It had this nice pennant formation or flag right around this 1250 spot. So right in this area, maybe right here, 1250. And then, you know, basically ascending triangle type thing, just like that, where you can kind of draw a line across these lows and use that as your risk. And so this one finally broke out through the 1250 spot. Looking at the longer term chart, you know, here's the resistance. It goes all the way back here, this 1250 areas. Goes all the way back here. Okay, and then, so this one broke out through that. This is a finance stock. It's Square. It's like for payment processing type stuff. But the whole banking sector right now, whether it's, you know, the Square, the payment processing, or the bank stocks, or the savings and loans, all of those are showing very bullish, you know, high tight flag type patterns where they, you know, have big runs and then consolidate for a few weeks or a few days, and then they just break out some new highs. And so this is in the right sector, and I really like this Square here for higher prices. And if you're going to trade this, this would be your this is your lower part of the pattern. So then you just take the depth here, okay? So 1250 down to, you know, say 11, and then, you know, so that'd be, you know, a point and a half. So add that on to this 1250, so that'd give you 1350, 14. So a profit target of 14 on this Square. This one looks, I think that one could easily do that. That one looks good. VICR, this is just another nice bull flag pattern here. See, you know, just kind of draw a resistance line there, and then you kind of got this basically pattern like that. So this is a nice looking ascending triangle slash bull flag setup here. That's VICR. CTRV, I've been stalking this one for a while. I took a loss on it on this day here. This thing gapped up, and I thought this was finally gonna break out of this kind of tight range here. So you had this big run, and then it's been consolidating here sideways, and then it gapped up, and I thought this one was cause it was really finally gonna go potentially through these recent highs right in here, maybe 230, 240 area. and it just didn't do it. It faded all the way back. So I got out of it right here around 2, and now it's grinding back up. So if you're going to trade this, I like this one here. Maybe use this trend line like this, and I'm just watching for this one to kind of ramp up and begin to break out. So this one has some work to do, but CTRV is one I'm definitely going to keep an eye on here. So, FDML, this is this one had a spot there at 10, and it goes way back here. See this way back here? You know, on this chart, this daily chart. So this is a 200-day chart here, and you can see where it's tested this 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then finally it broke 10. So this one I think has some potential here. You know, look at this pattern here, take the average depth, add that on, and this could be a nice swing. This FDML looks like it's going higher. AOSL is a semiconductor stock. Just got a nice little resistance area here, right around 13. So once, twice, and then now it's testing it again. So I'm just watching this AOSL. I think that one could break out. MU was one from I think last week's watch list or the one before, but this was a pattern here, 18 area, and this one broke out through this 18, and it's just continued higher here. It's all the way up to 20 now, and hasn't really had any pullbacks. But you know, sometimes these things break out and pull back to their supports, and sometimes they just keep going. And this one just has had a very nice run over the last 5 to 7 days, looks like. So just kind of give you an idea. And then so this mu here, you could look at this. Here's your lower part of the pattern here. So this is about a 2-point depth here, and so this thing has ran from 18 to 20. So this would be a nice area to take some profits on your position, and you know, leave some of it for a bigger position if you were trading it, or for a bigger move. So DCOM is a banking stock. I think it's a savings and loan, but this is just one of the many that I wanted to show. Kind of this pattern is setting up in a lot of these bank stocks. They have a lot of these things have ran up really high since Trump got elected, and then they just kind of trade tight and sideways, creating bull flag patterns, and you've seen them all over the place in the banking sector. But this one has a clear spot right in this area right here. You can see, you know, there's a high here, tested it there, there, and so it's kind of putting in this nice, very nice flag here. So I think this is a nice setup here, and you could buy the basically the breakout through 1920. Looks really good here, and this is just one of the many. Like I said, look through the banking stock, and you'll see the same pattern playing out all over the place. Basically a high tight flag pattern, very bullish. ARRY, this is another swing trade that I'm still sitting on. So this one had the breakout on longer term chart. So here it is here, 7, and then here's your kind of support line for your risk here. As it breaks out, you continue to hold as long as it stays above this trend line and holds it. And this one has, you know, this day it pulled all the way back, you know, 725 or something, and then it closed right up there near 8 again. So this one I'm still in, still holding it, and so I think this one could break out and make new highs. It's also a biotech stock, so this one still looks good. The market's right, and it's still acting well as far as I can tell. These little, you know, pullbacks last a couple days are often, you know, that's normal action in a stock. A stock doesn't just keep going up. It has these days where it'll have a day or two of pullback, but then if it's acting right, then it should, you know, bounce back like a tennis ball and bounce back to new highs in a relatively short amount of time. That's what you're looking for, is, you know, the stock is acting right versus abnormal movement, which would make you want to get out of the position. So as far as I can tell, he's still acting right. Las Vegas Sands. This is a couple weeks ago. I think it was on our watch list here. Had this spot here at 60, and so here's the depth of your pattern here at 56. Okay, to 60, 4 points. So add that to there. This one's 63, so it's almost 64, and it looks like it's going to go higher. So that'd be your first target on this Las Vegas Sands. but this is just showing you kind of the action of some of these stocks that we have had on the watch list the last couple weeks and how they did. So just so you can get your eyes familiar with the chart patterns. XNCR, it's a biotech, and it's creating a tight flag pattern. It had a big run up, and it's consolidating right above this spot here. So this 2720 spot, and so I think this one, it's technically above this recent high here, and it's just flagging. Has a really nice look to it. I like this XNCR for higher. NIO, a couple things to look at on this chart. This was on the watch list last week, and basically had a run up here, had a breakout through this 840 spot right in there. Here's the breakout, I guess you can call it, right in this area, I guess. So I had a breakout, and then it just kind of created like a tight little flag, and so I put on the watch list right around this area here, and then it broke out, and so now it's broken out this flag, and so this is you can have a clear level of resistance or support, sorry, right here. You can see it's, this is acting as a support line, so that's what you would use as your risk. And then if you pull this chart back a little bit further, I think this may be nearing an all-time high for this stock. So yeah, this is, okay, maybe not. Okay, 20 years. So anyway, very long, maybe multi-year high for sure. If it can break through this 950 area, because that's the most recent high back here, that it's tested there, and so if it breaks that 950 area, that one could continue higher. So I think NIO looks good here, for the breakout through the 950, and for continuation higher. Let's see here. EGOV. This is a nice, once again, another nice little bull flag, ascending triangle type pattern. So here's the first breakout. See right around 2370, somewhere in this area right here. It broke out, and then it put in a high on this 2530 spot somewhere in there. And if you kind of zoom in closer here, you can see here how it's creating this. So here's your resistance right in this area here, and then you got your draw your support trend line, something like that. See that? So just another nice little flag here, EGOV. CCXI, another one here. Big run up, sideways, tight consolidation range. That's usually an indication that the stock is going to continue higher here. So CCXI, just creating a flag. It's on watch. If this thing breaks it, potential flag breakout in the near future. CCXI. Once again, another flag. GSM, big run up. Sideways consolidation here. So I'm looking for maybe a push through 12. Using a risk off of something like that. That'd be a risk. That's the pattern. That'd be the risk, and basically a ascending triangle bull flag type pattern. CDXS. So I've been watching this one for a while too. I still like it, even though it's kind of a liquid, but the pattern is kind of intriguing to me because it's got this clear spot. 520 is tested twice, and it keeps kind of grinding higher towards that level. So I'm basically looking at this kind of trend line here. If it continues to maintain this and close above that, I think maybe this one can. If it tests 520 and tries to break 520, I'm definitely going to play this thing on the 520 break. So it's on watch. It's a biotech. So it's a nice pattern setting up. It's not ready yet, but. Taco, this is one on our watch list. We had a nice pattern here at 1440. It's a nice resistance, and then you could kind of use this rising trend line here maybe as your risk. And so this one broke out and still looks good. You know, still looks like, I mean, closed green. Had a little pullback on Friday, but the pattern's still intact, and a lot of the restaurant stocks still look good. So taco still looks good to me. EPM is one that I traded last week, but it didn't. I lost just a small amount on it. I got in like 8. I think 860, and then I had to close it out at like 840 or 830. I took a small loss on it, but I'm looking. I still like the chart, so I'm still watching it here. But maybe through this 850 spot, and kind of using this level as a risk, this little level there. But I really like this chart. It's EPM. It's an oil play, and I think once this thing can clean, I think this thing's going to go through 850 here and make new highs in the near future, and break out through this recent, the clear break would be through 870 area. But I think as long as this pattern holds, I think this thing is going to go higher. I like this chart, EPM. Let's see. OCLR, this was one that we looked at either last week or the week before, but it had a clean breakout here on this 930 spot, and it broke it. Let's see, pull this back up. Yeah, so you can see there's a spot here right around 930, tested it here, and then once it broke 930, it had a nice run, and then it's just basically kind of consolidation sideways to down. So to me, it looks like a flag as long as this thing holds above 930, or maybe even pulls back to 930 again and test it. I think that's a good entry point. That's where I would use my risk, is off the 930 spot. So if you can get in anywhere near 930, using that as your risk level, or that, or a little bit below that as your risk, I think it's a good entry on this OCLR, and because it looks like a flag pattern forming. Or you could just wait until it ramps up and kind of tries to break out through this to new highs, maybe through 10 or somewhere in that area. But it just looks like a consolidation, and then it should ramp back up, perk back up again, and make new highs. This is a nice. The chart still looks good here, OCLR. LMAT's another one that's was on our watch list a couple weeks ago, and I talked about this several times. But 22 spot had the break, and then so if you're gonna just kind of draw some technicals on it. So here's the here's the break, and then for your trend line support you could use this. And so technically this one is still in play at this point. It's pulled back to this trend line a couple times and it's still holding it, and so LMAT still looks like it's going higher. So AMRN, another biotech stock, and this is not really a clean breakout spot, but if I had to take an average here, I think this around 350 is a spot. It's kind of ramped up here right around 350, right around here 350. Here it broke 350 but then closed below it, and then a couple times over here. So and this pattern has been going on for in a couple months here, the consolidation pattern. So I think this one could be ready to make a move through 350 to new highs. So I'll be eyeballing this AMRN. H&R, this is a oil play. It's been on the watch list for a while, and just wanted to kind of show an update of what we see here. So here's basically a 450 spot, and I was using basically this trend line here as my risk when I'm looking at this chart pattern, and something like this maybe. So at this point it looks like it's closed below that trend line, and so that'd be an indication to get out of the position for now and then wait to see how it acts. I mean, this thing could perk back up and then break out through 450, 460 spot here. But at this point, it'd be best just, it's just not acting as good as it should. But if it does perk back up, then you know this pattern could reemerge and start to look attractive again. But just wanted to kind of give an idea of what I'm seeing here on technicals here. It kind of broke below that technical support level, so then you'd close the position out. So let's see. Well, I think that's all I got for tonight, guys. I hope you guys had a good weekend. Still lots of good setups in the market, and I'm still holding my 3 swing trades, and I'll be looking for some entries and some new ones this week. And there's a lot of the ones we talked about tonight could emerge, and I'll let you guys know on Twitter and so forth what I'm doing. But all right, guys, have a good night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.